Man accused of killing a young mother in Tuscaloosa will spend the rest of his life in prison after being found guilty of capital murder today.
And I'm going home to her baby right now, and I'm going to hug him tight. And I'm going to take him to see his mother in Montgomery. And we are going to spend Mother's Day at her grave. That's what we're going to do this week.
Late night, January 15th, 2023. The air is cold in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. A 23-year-old mother named Jamea Harris is riding shotgun in her Jeep, laughing a moment before tragedy. What started as a Saturday night out ends in screams, a gunshot, and loss no mother should ever know. How did a night of celebration end in murder and a national scandal? At around 1:45 a.m., just off the Strip, a well-known stretch of bars and restaurants near the University of Alabama, Jamea is seated beside her boyfriend, Cedric Johnson, in the front of her Jeep. Her cousin Asia Humphrey rides in the back. A verbal argument breaks out between Johnson and a man named Michael Lynn Davis. Another man, Darius Miles, allegedly is involved. Witnesses testified Davis approached the driver's door. Shots ring out. One bullet, fired by Davis, cuts through the air, hitting Jamea in the chin and entering her neck. She dies almost immediately. By morning, her mother, DeCarla Hurd, awakes to pounding on her door. She already knows. The police are there. Fear floods through her. She pleads, "Don't tell me she's dead." But she is. Her 5-year-old son, Kine, who she called hours earlier to laugh, never gets another call from his mother. Welcome to True Crime 911, the place where we uncover stories that most people would rather forget. But here's the truth. If you don't subscribe right now, stories like Jamea's risk being buried and forgotten forever. If you can live with that, don't subscribe. But if you care about victims being remembered, hit that button. A jury would later find Michael Davis guilty of capital murder. He's sentenced to life without parole. But even after the verdict, the questions don't all get answered. As for Darius Miles, charged with aiding and abetting, but his trial is yet to unfold. This isn't just a case about crime or guilt or names. This is about what happens when a life is cut short. What happens when those who should protect are the ones being studied. Jamea Harris was just 23. She lived in Birmingham, Alabama, a young mother, a dreamer, a believer in fashion. She loved color, style, clothes, anything that let her express who she was. Her family said she wanted to be a hairstylist. She had a son, Kine, aged 5, her world, her heart. Every morning, she would work at night, then stay awake just long enough to make sure her son was set for school. It was how she lived, a mother first. To those who knew her, she was always smiling, always up for family, always ready to laugh. High-spirited, a light in dark rooms. She loved when people were around her, friends, cousins, family, always excited to be in the mix. Her cousin Asia Humphrey was one of her closest. They talked of opening a clothing store together when they were younger. Fashion wasn't just a hobby, it was part of who she was. Her mother, DeCarla Hurd, remembers her vividly. The warmth in her voice, her laughter, the way she welcomed her stepfather Kelvin into the family, the way she lit up when she got a call from her son. But even as Jamea planned for better days, trying to balance work, motherhood, dreams, she carried responsibilities bigger than most her age. To Kine, she was a mom, teacher, and protector, and she never stopped trying. The people who loved her say she deserved more time, more chances, more tomorrow. But on January 15th, 2023, in one brief moment, everything changed. Jamea's plan that night was simple: unwind. She left her Birmingham home with tired bones but a hopeful heart. She had been working nights, and it was a Saturday night, January 14th, 2023, and she wanted to spend time with friends. She drove into Tuscaloosa, where University Boulevard becomes the Strip. Bars, restaurants, crowds. The University of Alabama basketball game had just ended earlier that evening. Excitement was still in the air. People were streaming out, looking for drinks, food, a good time. With her cousin Asia Humphrey and her boyfriend Cedric Johnson, they entered the nightlife. They went to 1225, a bar on the Strip, around midnight. Inside, they mingled, laughed. For a moment, nothing seemed off. Asia Humphrey says there were no problems. After a couple of hours, they left the bar. They crossed the street, got food. They moved their Jeep, parked behind the Houndstooth, down Gray Street, stopped at the corner of Grace and University to wait. Johnson was supposed to return with something. The night was quiet.
Meanwhile, another group was in the same area. Darius Miles, Michael Lynn Davis, and others. Some had tried getting into bars, waited in the same lines, moved among the same crowds. At points, the video shows Asia Humphrey bumping into Jaden Bradley, one of the Alabama players, in line. Nothing, or so it seemed, took hold of anything dangerous. At 1:36 a.m., things started to shift. Davis, Miles, and Bradley leave 1225. Miles sends text messages to Brandon Miller, asking when he's coming. The Jeep, with Jamea, Johnson, and Humphrey, is nearby. Lights off. The two groups are now moving closer in timing, in space. The same stretch of streets, same parked cars, same alleys. The mood is late-night Texas Hold'em. Everyone's still playing. No one quite knows when the blinds will force someone all in. The streets are dark, cold. Phones glow. Some people are laughing. Others are waiting, expecting. Then at 1:45 a.m., something changes. The calm is broken. But as the night wore on, a chance encounter would set off a deadly chain reaction. Inside that Jeep, headlights off, air cold, tension invisible but mounting. In the early hours of January 15, 2023, two men intersect destiny with Jamea Harris's night. Michael Lynn Davis and Darius Miles, both tied to the University of Alabama basketball world. Davis, prosecutors allege, made unwanted advances toward Jamea, something she rejected. The details of how it began are murky. Witness testimony differs. Some say there was talking, others say Davis tried pressing further. Miles, according to charging documents, is accused of providing the gun used that night. He allegedly bought it earlier and handed it over. Jamea's boyfriend, Cedric Johnson, is said to have pushed back, asked that the advances stop. Asia Humphrey, her cousin, says they tried to leave the area. But Davis followed. Words were exchanged, voices rose, the night air cut through the arguing. Cars rolled by, doors closed, music leaked out from nearby bars. Police reports show that Davis reportedly approached the driver's side of the Jeep, confronting Johnson. According to testimony, Davis pointed, then moved, close enough for confrontation. Miles is alleged to have been nearby, ready. Anger, fear, something unspoken yet heavy in those seconds. Then one witness said Davis reached for something. A gun. Another said they saw the barrel. Johnson yelled, something about "leave us alone." But in a moment, it was too late. The quiet was gone. And then, the Strip echoed with gunfire. 1:45 a.m., the Strip, the confrontation turns deadly. A flash of movement, the first gunshot cracks through the air, then another. In all, nearly a dozen rounds fired into the darkness. Witnesses scatter, car alarms wail. The Strip, seconds earlier filled with laughter, is now in chaos. Inside the Jeep, Jamea Harris is struck. The bullet enters her cheek and neck. The force is devastating. Her boyfriend, Cedric Johnson, panics, slamming the gear into drive, racing toward University Boulevard, trying desperately to get her to safety. But every second counts, and this time there aren't enough. Jamea doesn't make it. By the time the Jeep halts near the Walk of Champions, it's too late. Paramedics respond, but her injuries are catastrophic. Her cousin Asia Humphrey later recalls the horror in that moment, the screaming, the frantic attempt to save her, the reality setting in too fast. Hours later, at home in Birmingham, Jamea's mother, DeCarla Hurd, is woken by pounding on her front door. Police officers. She begs them not to say it, not to tell her what she already fears. She pleads, "Don't tell me she's dead." But the words come anyway. Jamea is gone. Her 5-year-old son Kane has lost his mother forever. This is the call every parent dreads, and the Harris family lived it. Imagine getting that phone call, your daughter gone forever. These families relive this nightmare every single day. If you can just scroll past without hitting subscribe, ask yourself, what does that say about us as a community? If you won't subscribe, at least write in the comments why her life doesn't deserve to be remembered. Within hours, Tuscaloosa police begin piecing together what happened on the Strip. Witnesses are interviewed, security footage collected, timelines built, minute by minute. They learn the gun used that night didn't come out of nowhere. According to investigators, Darius Miles, a forward on the University of Alabama basketball team, had the weapon. But he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. That role, prosecutors say, belonged to Michael Lynn Davis, Miles' friend visiting from Maryland. In court filings, detectives state that Miles provided the gun to Davis. Witnesses recall seeing Davis approach the Jeep, firing at least 8 times. The bullet that struck Jamea Harris was fatal. But that wasn't all. As police dig deeper, another name surfaces, a name already tied to Alabama basketball and about to explode into national headlines: Brandon Miller.
According to testimony, Miles had texted Miller just before the shooting, asking him to bring the gun. Miller later drove to the Strip, delivering the vehicle that held the weapon. Police confirmed Miller cooperated, his attorney saying he never touched the gun, never knew a crime was about to happen. And still, his presence at the scene and his involvement in transporting the weapon set off a firestorm. Questions spread beyond Tuscaloosa. Should Miller be playing basketball? Should he face charges? Or was he simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? The investigation was no longer just about a shooting in a college town. It was about power, sports, influence, and whether justice looked different when a star player's name was involved. But one name would ignite outrage far beyond Alabama. The killing of Jamea Harris didn't stay a local story for long. Within days, headlines stretched across the nation. Alabama basketball player charged with murder. Star freshman linked to a deadly shooting. The University of Alabama found itself at the center of a storm. A program ranked among the best in the country was suddenly tied to tragedy. Darius Miles was dismissed from the team. Michael Davis faced murder charges, but the conversation kept circling back to one name: Brandon Miller. Miller was never charged. Prosecutors made clear he didn't fire the gun, didn't handle it, and there wasn't enough evidence to suggest criminal intent. Legally, he walked free. But on the court, he kept playing, even as fans, reporters, and grieving families demanded answers. Each time he took the floor, chants rained down. Some called him a killer. Others shouted Jamea's name. And through it all, Alabama doubled down, insisting Miller had done nothing wrong. Meanwhile, Jamea's family struggled to process the very public battle. Her mother, DeCarla Hurd, called it a slap in the face. Her stepfather described feeling like Jamea's life had been reduced to a footnote in a basketball season. By 2024, their family had filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Miller, Miles, and Davis, arguing that all three played a role in her killing. The case reignited debates about responsibility, privilege, and whether the system values winning games more than it values justice. Think about this. Powerful names walk away untouched while families are left in pieces. If you're okay with that imbalance, keep scrolling without subscribing. But if you believe in exposing truth and demanding accountability, subscribing is the least you can do. And if you still won't, at least explain in the comments why silence feels safer to you. The outrage didn't fade. The spotlight only grew hotter. And soon, the courtroom would decide what the Strip could not. 2 years after that deadly night on the Strip, justice finally reached the courtroom. In May 2025, a Tuscaloosa County jury found Michael Lynn Davis guilty of capital murder for the killing of 23-year-old Jamea Harris. Prosecutors argued Davis pulled the trigger that ended her life, while Davis's attorneys claimed he fired in self-defense. The jury rejected that claim. Davis now faces a life sentence without the possibility of parole. But the story isn't over. Darius Miles, once a promising Alabama forward, still awaits trial. His charge? Aiding and abetting Davis by providing the gun that killed Jamea. Prosecutors say Miles set events in motion the moment he texted for his weapon to be brought to the Strip. And then there's the civil side. Jamea's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Davis, Miles, and Brandon Miller, the star player accused of delivering the car that carried the gun. Miller was never charged criminally, but the lawsuit argues he shares in the responsibility for what happened. For Jamea's mother, DeCarla Hurd, every hearing, every headline means reliving the moment she learned her daughter was gone. She has spoken of how officers came to her home that January night, how she begged them not to tell her the words she already feared, the words that no mother should ever hear.
Her grief has become evidence in itself, proof of the permanent damage left behind when bullets fly in anger. And as one trial ends and another looms, the Harris family continues to sit in court, holding on to Jamea's memory, demanding that justice carry her name. Today, more than 2 years since that night on the Strip, the Harris family continues to live with a hole that cannot be filled. Jamea's little boy, just 5 years old when she was killed, is now growing up without his mother. Family members say he still asks questions no child should have to ask. He sees her pictures, he hears her name, but he will never again feel her arms around him. For her mother, DeCarla Hurd, and the rest of the Harris family, every court date, every headline is a reminder of the life stolen from them. They speak often about Jamea's smile, her energy, the way she loved styling hair and dreaming of opening her own shop. Those dreams are gone, but the grief remains, sharp as the day she died. The case has also left larger questions echoing beyond Tuscaloosa. Questions about gun violence and how quickly a disagreement can escalate into tragedy when a firearm is introduced. Questions about college athletics, about how power and influence may shield some while families like the Harrises fight for basic justice. And questions about women's safety, about why a young mother, simply trying to enjoy a night out with her loved ones, had to spend her final moments fending off unwanted advances that turned deadly. Her story is not just about a shooting, or a courtroom, or a university scandal. It's about the devastating ripple effect left behind when one life is taken too soon. Jamea Harris was 23 years old.
a daughter, a cousin, a mother, a friend. And for her family, remembering her means fighting to make sure the world does not forget what was lost on that January night. Before we close tonight's story, I need to say this. Videos like this one, telling Jamea's story, piecing together court records, testimony, and the voices of her grieving family, take hours upon hours of research, writing, and editing. It's not easy, and honestly, sometimes it feels heavy to carry these stories. But I do it because victims like Jamea deserve to be remembered, and their stories deserve to be told with care. So here's the truth. If you believe stories like this matter, if you believe victims' names should never fade away, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Every subscription tells me that this work matters, that these lives aren't being forgotten in silence. And if you can listen to a mother describe the moment she lost her daughter and still scroll past without subscribing, then I want you to explain why. Go to the comments right now and tell me why her life doesn't deserve to be remembered. Tell me why silence feels safer to you. Because here on True Crime 911, silence is the very thing we fight against.